Hello, my name is Joshua Brown from Joshua Tree Insurance and Investment Services, Inc. Certified Financial Planner, Chartered Life Underwriter, Certified Executor Advisor. Here to serve the needs of Algoma and all Canadians. Now today we're going to talk about a subject that is called the Great Squeeze. Now, the Great Squeeze is a term I've been using for the last year or so with clients and in around the community, with politicians that I run into. What the Great Squeeze is to summarize in one sentence, the Great Squeeze is historically prices going up at unprecedented levels that anyone alive today has seen, or historically increases in the costs of our goods and our retirement variables that nobody has seen in history. And it's important to recognize that when you're feeling pressured and you see the costs going up. This has never happened before historically. In preparing for today's meeting or information adventure, we'll call it, I was just doing some research on the property tax increases in Toronto, and honestly, I am just in shock as to what is going on in this country with the Great Squeeze. What's left me in shock is just the increases in property taxes that we've seen, which no financial advisor has factored in a 10% increase in your after-tax property tax costs that I've met anyway. I'm sure there's the odd one out there who's looked ahead and seen the signs, but most follow the projections that are provided to us, the standardized projections that keep us in line with standard numbers like inflation. As a CFP, we have a chart that we typically are asked to use when it's looking at inflation numbers, so we're not getting too high, we're not getting too low, and that's been very good. I found some of the computer software that I've used in the past, to be quite frank, has maybe made people's retirement picture look a little bit better than it should have been because of the inflation number that was baked into that. So on that guidance and projections I've done in the past, I've increased the rate of inflation. And now that time has gone on and inflation is even higher than that number I increased to, all of those plans and all of those projections, I would say are out the window. So if you had a retirement plan prior to 2013, it needs to be completely redone because everything has changed. And I would even suggest it's probably a good idea to review your will, power of attorney, and those sort of things as well. In that most people are not reviewing their legal. So in Toronto, they had the largest tax increase they've had ever in the history of Toronto, as far as what I've read. And if someone reads to the contrary, please put that in the comments, and we'll update that fact. Things need to be very factual here. Everything I will provide to you will have a reference, so that you can look it up. These are not just my data that I'm pulling out of my head. So in Toronto, just reading from my iPad here, they are going to have the largest increase of 9.5% property taxes. And I can relate. We live in a municipality called Blind River. The taxes have gone up, I think they were 7%. They went up this year, they're going up this year. That's after tax money. We don't have any of the resources that a big city would have like Toronto. And to be quite honest, as I sit here and I'm reading this in preparation, I almost fell off of my chair. Literally, if you had seen me I almost did fall off my chair and take the mic and everything with me. And why I almost fell off my chair is I noticed that in Toronto, you're paying less taxes than we're paying in Blind River. And same in Vancouver. So for a $500,000 home in Toronto, you would pay approximately $2,771 taxes. We're projected to pay, I believe, $3,500 for this next year, and our home is worth about $400,000, maybe on a good day. So that's really high, and there's some things we should be looking at as all Canadians as to where our money is going, certainly. But the point is that these levels have gone up from Toronto to Blind River to Vancouver. Hamilton's taxes have gone up 7.9%. This is after tax money. So to give you an idea, if you're earning income and you're in a 30% tax bracket, to have $100 in your jeans or in your skirt, you are going to have to earn approximately $142 to pay 30% taxes to have $100 left. So it's a much bigger number than $3,000 or $4,000 in your taxes, because it's actually about 42% higher if you're in a 30% tax bracket. So just some math there to be aware of upon the Great Squeeze. And the reason for this discussion is I believe that the Great Squeeze is going to continue, perhaps for the next decade. And I believe there are some ways that we can start to prepare for that. Of course, one of them is redoing our retirement projections. Another is, of course, having a look at our investments, our risk profile. Are they in line with what we want to do? If the market dropped again and we needed more money, are we in a situation there that we don't want to be in? So I am a firm believer. One of my first managers, planted the seed in my head. Nobody plans to fail. We just fail to plan. And I completely see that in my practice. Nobody plans on being broke at 70 or 80 or 90. Nobody intends on that happening. It's just a fact of not keeping an eye on the moving pieces, maybe wanting to check out on these things, and that's fine. That's the role that I take on for my clients, so that you may check out and we can keep an eye on things through our regular meetings, contact, and reviews. So I would suggest with the Great Squeeze, anybody in Canada who's had a retirement plan done prior to COVID and prior to 2013, which is when these, we're getting the hangover effect coming in, I would recommend you redo those plans. And you can certainly contact our office if you would be able to use our services to do something like that. And my assistant or my staff can certainly let you know if we can help with your situation. We are happy to try to guide you, even if it's not us who's able to help you, to try to get you in a better direction. So my goal from this education is so that we have met virtually, you have met me, I have not met you, that your life will be better because we have had this contact, and your life will be further enhanced because of our conversations. Now, obviously, food has gone up at one of the highest rates, one of the most discussed increases, as well as housing costs. So I just want to touch on food for a moment, of how can you help save some of the money going out of the window. Approximately 30% of your income is perhaps going to food. If you have teenagers and lots of kids, this number can vary, of course, but it's approximately 30% of our income we are spending on food. And 30% of our food we waste. 30% of our food we waste. I believe it's around 10% of our income we use on food. So out of that, say $800 a month, a lot of people are spending on food. Of course, we have to make much more than $1,000 a month to have that $800 to spend on groceries, which is about the average for Canadian. And if 30% of that money is going out the window to waste, and it's something that we can control, unlike property taxes, less controllable. The food is something I'd encourage all Canadians to take a look at, whether you're able to buy bigger portions, use reusable containers to do that, to achieve that. And along with that process also comes with a saving of garbage. So I had a client in Brooklyn, Ontario, and he took this to heart. He said to me, Josh, I can't believe that we're, about 30% of our food is being wasted. And about a year later, after we went through a financial plan, going over those numbers, he brought me into his home and he showed me his new food numbers, and he was at about 5% waste. He told me, Josh, I've really drilled into this. He's the client of mine who's really drilled into this most, and he said, I don't think it's very plausible to get past the 5%. I'm sure some people do it, but with children, it'd be very difficult. Maybe when the kids are grown. I thought that was very interesting. He was able to save 25% of his food costs just simply through not wasting as much, not throwing out as much, and managing the fridge. So perhaps some of us can get through the great squeeze by simply managing the fridge. It may not be that easy for most of us, and I suggest it's most likely not. However, if there's things that you can control and you can limit, and those can put you in better shape, then why not take a good, long, hard look at the groceries? And not necessarily the quality, it's the wastage that I want you to take a look at. The quality, I think, is important. I'm on board with Frank Stronach. Good quality food makes good Canadians and healthy Canadians. We need our children eating good quality food in the mornings, full stomachs, ready to learn. That's going to be the best way to develop the minds, as well as no stress. Stress has been seen to deteriorate the brain and actually eat the brain away. So I think that's an important factor as well. We need Canadians to be under less financial stress, and our children less concerned about their parents' food bill and that sort of thing. So what also came along with this savings in food was a savings in garbage. This individual informed me that the garbage they were leaving at the side of the road had decreased by about 80% because they weren't throwing out little yogurt containers. They were reusing the Tupperware, and they were only throwing out one big container a week instead of 24 little containers. And they found they were only putting a garbage bag out maybe every 4 weeks, which is incredible, and a recycling bin typically half full. So this is a huge change for Canada if everyone could embrace what that individual did, and I would commend them. You know who you are. I hope you're listening to this, and good job. You're an example for every Canadian. Now, I want to touch on one other big portion of the Great Squeeze. Really, this is the introduction of the topic. I want you to be thinking about the Great Squeeze and everything you do, and looking ahead, and that we are going to continuously being squeezed from all sides. It's not just gasoline, it's food, it's housing, it's taking care of our parents who need senior care, it's dealing with medical issues. Some people are paying to go down to the States, and that's costing money. Everything is going up, from property tax across the board. The other one I was looking up that just scares me to death, honestly, is our seniors in Canada. The people who have built our country. They have built our hospitals. They have built our roads. Hopefully to be all maintained and in good shape for the next generation. I believe that was the idea. However, if your property taxes have gone up 9%, and I'm looking at the consumer price index for what the old age security and Canada pension plan have increased from April 2023 to April 2024, the increase is 3.2%. That is a drastic differential just on the property tax portion. So if you're a senior and you have no savings, seniors are the largest group of individuals at risk to go bankrupt. They are the largest group of individuals who financial advisors have no interest in, typically because of the amount of net worth that a senior has. Maybe they don't have a lot of savings, and they're just really getting no attention. And I worry we're sending them down a road of depression, frustration, and bankruptcy. The Great Squeeze is going to affect many, many seniors. I project that over the next 8 years, if property taxes continue on this road, that most seniors who are on a fixed income today, especially seniors with no savings, will be priced out of their home. And most likely before that time, if they have no guidance and no professional guidance. The other issue I have on that is in line is we have people all across the country and all countries, but specifically Canada, who are willing to perhaps take advantage of a senior to get one of those homes. So I would encourage all Canadians during the Great Squeeze, please keep an eye on those who built our country, built our roads, built our hospitals. If you don't speak English, or you don't speak the language of that senior who maybe has been in Canada and hasn't learned to speak English in 40 years, I have some advice for you on how to be kind. I let my children know there is an international language, and that international language that you will understand no matter what language you speak is called kindness. Open the door for a senior. Pop by a senior's neighbor's house and say hello. Just give them the time of day. See how they're doing. If you're in banking, if you're the average bank teller, go out of your way. Maybe it's not mandated. Just see how they're doing. See how the bills are adding up. Are they going to make it through next year? What we don't want to have is a bunch of fire sales in Canada. It is not good for the economy. It is not good for our seniors. And again, the stress. The stress is a big factor of causing sickness and illness. And if we combine the stress of not being able to afford our home and the stress of not being able to afford our food and the things that we would like to do, or we just don't know, so we're waiting under stress, then those are the ones that I'm concerned about. This is the purpose of this Great Squeeze for you. Maybe no one is giving you the time of day because of your account size or your age. I'm happy to give you some guidance, and if we can't help you, for whatever reason, send you in the right direction. I really do care for all of the seniors in Canada. I am concerned for all Canadians heading into the Great Squeeze. This is a global problem. I don't think there's anyone to single out on this. I mean, there's certainly management styles around the globe for the Great Squeeze. There's cities like Windsor who have very low debt, and I didn't look at their property tax increase, but I would suspect it's much lower. There's areas who've held off on property tax increases, looking out for the seniors. What I'm seeing is a lack of desire to listen to seniors, to be aware of the problem. And I just see two locomotives smashing together here upcoming, and that's called the Great Squeeze. It's a constricting, it's a boa constrictor, and if we're not careful, it is going to squeeze the life out of you and then devour you. So if I can prepare anybody in Algoma as a certified financial planner, typically if you go into a bank in Canada now to get a CFP, they want you to have typically a $750,000 investable asset minimum. Some of these firms are also requiring you that if you dip under the $750,000, you go back to the teller level, We do not have that mandate. If I take you on as a client and you slip from the 750 level to the 250 level, and we committed to take care of you, I will not let you down. We will not kick you to the curb. We will take care of you. I am not mandated by a boss above me of who I can and cannot take within reason. So I'm happy to serve you. I've done well enough also in my career to be in the top 1% of Canada in the past that I do have time to help people in some cases for no pay or low pay. So I have helped some clients in the past for basically negative money when we factor in staffing and office. But again, this is looking ahead to help people. I'm in the business. I do this to help people, to educate, to empower you so that you're not taken advantage. You're not afraid of leadership. That you feel empowered. You have some data to take with you to say, hey, how am I going to live in your town if you're doing this? How are we going to fix the roads? What's going on behind the scenes with these pay increases when we just can't afford these things? And same with food and all of these things. We need to band together as Canadians. We need to be educated. And the Great Squeeze is manageable. We will get through this. We're the toughest group of people on this earth. There's a lot said about negative said about people around the world, but there's really tough groups of people around the world that are in war right now, and there's positive from them. There are tough people, just like Canadians, getting through tough things. The Great Squeeze, imagine if you're in a war-torn area trying to buy something worth 70% more or 200% more in costs. So the Great Squeeze is worse elsewhere. It can be worse, but as Canadians, as toughies, we're going to get through it. And I encourage you to call upon people like myself. There are other CFPs out there who are willing to help. I've met them. I've worked with them. They're not as common, but they are willing to work for no pay and volunteer to spend a couple hours with you and get you on track. So as the gold standard in what we do, typically we have the highest ethics, and we really worry about Canadians as well. So I encourage you to pop by our office at 158 Mainstream, drop us a Facebook message, venture in. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. You know what's up now. Great Squeeze. We have a word for it. Let's spread it around. Let's not be in fear. Let's be prepared, not scared. Thank you. I hope you have an excellent journey ahead. Bye-bye.